What's good, everybody? Welcome to another broadcast here at Fast Break or IE Sports Radio. You're ready for always sports. We're back after a week off. I went to watch my Titans lose up in Nashville. We're back here to talk about basketball. And lucky for us, conference play has begun. D-Locke, tell the good people how you been doing.
Not bad. I mean, had a good day yesterday. Folks did win their game and then come back today with a win that we needed, but we did not get. But again, Orlando Magic playing pretty decent, so not too bad. But basketball season is here. Playoffs are in the first one. Now we start to get things cooking.
So yeah, we're gonna dive into it. Conference play has begun around the country. We'll go around and talk about the big time scores and whatnot, and all the big news coming out of those games. Plus, some injuries happening around the NBA. Jokić is out. His backup is out. Wemby. Should he be more careful how he plays, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to dive into that. But this is Fast Break here for IE Sports Radio. You're the big for always sports. And we'll catch you on the other side after these messages.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And welcome back to the show here. This is Fast Break here for IE Sports Radio. You're ready for always sports. Well, with the football season winding down the last week and a big one in Pittsburgh, where you at, D-Locke, where you living at between the Ravens and Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a good fiscal one. As that is winding down, the last regular season game of the NFL season is upon us. Conference play in college basketball is here, it is live, and is on and popping. D-Locke, before we get down in the nitty-gritty and whatnot, what's your thoughts of as conference play begins around the country? in your eyes?
I mean, the biggest thing is with these conference games, this is going to tell us a lot about, the teams that we're going to look at: Dukes, Florida, North Carolina. You know what I mean? Houston, Alabama. These teams we want to see how good they are. So far, we've seen Florida with a few losses that they shouldn't have taken already. Now we're getting to that conference play. Do these losses hurt them down the road? Also, another team that has taken a few losses already, which is pretty shocking, is Pitt. Some of the losses that they've had already is pretty much like, damn, you lost to a couple of these teams, and y'all haven't even gotten to the actual conference play. So for me, I think that now that we're getting into that conference play, we're going to see a huge, huge difference in how good are these teams. Can they manage to, withhold in their conference?
I think for me, for conference play, is like who at the top can stay at the top. Throughout so far this season, seeing the likes of Purdue, Michigan, Michigan State, Arizona, Duke, Houston, those schools right there, how can they sustain their sustainability up top conference play when you got the upper heavy hitters coming at you?
Right.
And then, some other teams that we kind of expected to be better, can they figure themselves out come conference play to make a run, to make a bid for the NCAA tournament? Looking at like teams like Memphis, Kentucky, those two are great examples right there that, y'all didn't have the best non-conference play.
Right.
And now we kind of like, getting the conference play, for Memphis, we'll talk about him a little bit more in a little bit. They got their first win in conference play. Kentucky, on the other hand, we'll talk about more here in a second. Got their butts handed to them down in Tuscaloosa. So, things like that, if you try and find some momentum and this now crowded, field in the conference play, like the SEC, for example,
correct,
it's gonna be tough. We discussed in the past couple of years, like 5-6 games in, if you ain't above 500, you deep down the standings.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm looking at
how big these conference tournaments have gotten now.
Right.
If you like the last two, you don't make it to the conference tournament. If you do make it, you playing from if you make it to Championship Sunday, you playing from Wednesday when it starts all the way through to Sunday. That's a lot of games and a lot of days in a row at different times. So for me, for conference play, I think the various different styles. Who's gonna come out on top, who's gonna play tough, and whose job's gonna be on the line. So that's another thing I look forward to there. But get rolling right here. Arizona, Michigan remain 1-2 in the latest Power 37 rankings, both steady, both dominant, both controlling their conferences. But I think we got to start off right here, D-Locke. UCF upsets number 17 Kansas with Darian Peterson's return for the Jayhawks, but not enough to avoid the loss. I watched a little bit of this game, D-Locke. Thank God that Kansas has Peterson, because if they didn't have that kid, I don't know where that team would be. And there's no shade to the rest of the Kansas team, but they'd be lost in the sauce for that kid.
Oh, yeah.
Some of y'all probably see this, say, well, we got Melvin Council, all that stuff too. Yeah, y'all do. But after that, it's not really much. For UCF, they win 81-75, led by 19 points by Riley Kugel, 16 points by Demas Folks. And the other side, like I said, Peterson, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks for him. Council, 20 points. D-Locke, Kansas, you know, they were so during non-conference play. How do you feel with them going 0-1 in the beginning of conference play, especially to UCF down Orlando?
My biggest thing with this team is we know Kansas is one of those teams that always have a top team that goes to the tournament literally every year. Now, I think my biggest thing, what I talk about a lot now, is the transfer portal. You know, we talk about it in many ways. I think the transfer portal plays a huge part in NCAA period now. So you look at teams like UCF and all these other teams, they're in the transfer portal getting these players that can give their teams that boost.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at a couple of losses Kansas got, you got North Carolina, you got UConn and Duke. We talk about 3 prestigious schools, you know what I mean, that's known for winning. And then you go take this L to UCF. Has me a little worried, but not really. I mean, looking at the rest of their schedule, they're going to play TCU coming up, West Virginia, Iowa State, and then Baylor. I expect this team to be able to bounce back. I think that is probably a wake-up call for this team. I mean, I know that home court advantage is a big deal, but I think that teams like a Kansas, like a UConn, like a Duke, North Carolina, sometimes that home court, when they play away, shouldn't affect them as much, especially when you are as talented as you are. So they have, like I said, looking at their schedule is going to be pretty tough. Obviously, having looking at January 31st and February 2nd, they got BYU and they come back play Texas Tech. So they got a nice little conference. These next few games coming up, then obviously going into February, Arizona, Iowa State again. So I expect that to be one of the games that you look at as huge. I mean, again, looking at this game, I mean, they were behind in the first half, but played catch up. So that is a huge upset. Now, like I said, even that, with that being said, UCF is actually starting off pretty good as well. And again, like I said, you look at some of these teams that are not known to be really good, earlier in the season. Now with this transfer portal, things could change, man.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these teams are going to get, some of these athletes and making a difference. I mean, looking at the team that UCF lost to, they lost to Vanderbilt. And that's it. And I talked about Pittsburgh earlier. They beat Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? They come back and beat Kansas. So you have a couple teams on here that obviously they haven't played too many big time name schools, but going to beat the A&M, beating Pittsburgh, coming back and then beating Kansas. UCF may be one of them teams that we talk about later on down the road about being in the tournament. And getting off to this hot start, plays a huge part. So, but for Kansas, this definitely needs to be a wake up call for them. Now, like I said, it doesn't hurt them too bad, obviously, getting into this tournament play. But this is one of them losses that they're going to wish they got back a little bit later on. But again, I mean, outside of that one, I think that UCF probably is going to finish should finish a top 25 team. So you're looking at a loss between Tennessee top 5. I'm sorry, not Tennessee. UConn top 5, Duke number 5, North Carolina 25, and then UCF possibly finishing top rank. So I think that they're facing some tough teams, but again, they got to get the wins on these teams as well. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't be beating up on Townsend, Missouri, Davidson. Like, you got to get some of these wins against these better teams to show that you are willing to be part of this tournament, which I think Kansas will do eventually. But this is one of them losses that is going to stick with them. Hopefully, they can use this motivation down the stretch.
you brought up the schedule and looking at it right now, you know, Tuesday they play against a very tough TCU team at home. And then you go back on the road to West Virginia like at 11 o'clock. Okay, that can go a lot of ways. Then Iowa State, that's undefeated, right? As this broadcast going on. Baylor, always tough fits and stuff like that, even though they got beat down this past weekend. Colorado, that shouldn't be. I mean, they 11-13, 11-3 as well. In-state rivals Kansas State, 9-5 right now. And then round out the month, you got BYU that's looking like one of the better teams in the country with AJ DeMissa leading the way. So for Kansas, I think for me, Peterson, he's got a. It's like you. I don't know if you've seen it, but a lot of reports saying that, you know, he's one more injury away to kind of taking himself out the season and kind of ready to prep himself for the draft. And it would suck that would happen because this is a kid that's very talented and that can carry a team through the tournament with his play. But I do wonder, you know, if things kind of go sideways, he's pulling himself out and, you know, oh, that's a nice touchdown. Anyways, pulling himself out and then kind of just focus on the draft. You know, losing to UCF, you know, it happens. You know, teams like that, they kind of sneak up on folks like that. And, you know, I didn't know Johnny Dawkins was still coaching there, to be honest with you. I said, damn, he's still down here. So, after all these years. So, you know, for Bill Self and company, I know the season has gone as planned. You know, your superstar freshman, you know, as good as he's been, hasn't really carried everybody else like you see with Booz and Duke or the Dimesta in BYU. And you got the same resources as those two schools as well, like you brought up.
Right.
You know, so for those that don't know, like Kansas is a straight basketball school.
Yep.
They'll do anything for that school. Like I live here in Alabama. They do anything for that damn program down in Tuscaloosa. By hook or crook. Same thing in the Carolinas. Duke, Carolina basketball do anything for them. So we'll see how the rest of the season shake out for Kansas. You know, losses happen, but Kansas kind of playing non-conference stuff like that is like, and the way the Big 12 is right now, it's like there's gonna be some hard truths throughout the conference play. I was that last word.
I mean, I think that when it gets into this in this conference play, you know, we always look at, and this is the beauty about, I think, being in with college basketball for so many years. You notice every time we talk about when it gets to the college play and NCAA tournament, college basketball, we kind of skip past the tournament, the conference champ.
Yeah, we do.
And we go straight to the tournament, right? We don't gas it up like we do in football a lot of times. And it's paid off for college basketball for the longest, right? Talk about conference champ, then we already go, okay, well, this team is already going to make a tournament. We're going to see what they're going to do. Now, football is taking that kind of thought process and they're moving it into their sport. So this tournament play is huge because we're going to see who's the better team and who puts them into not necessarily winning conference, but who puts them in the right spot to make it in the tournament. Because when it comes down to these major wins and major losses, these losses are gonna stick out. So, you know, you want to stack up your conference wins so these little losses or these small losses that you may have is kind of minimized, if that makes sense. You know, let's say Kansas can win a majority of their conference. They go on a hot streak in the Big 12. Now, when we look at, damn, okay, they got a good-ass record in their conference in Big 12. They took a loss to North Carolina and Duke and UConn. Okay. but they had a hell of a conference streak going. This team, I think, we deserves to be in the tournament. You know what I mean? That sticks out. So your conference play, in a sense, could outweigh a lot of losses that you have. You got to go out there and put it together. So, to me, yes, it matters to get top 25 wins. I think it plays a huge part. But if you can go on a streak in your conference, I think that plays a bigger, plays a little bit more important, because that's something that they can say, damn, okay, this team went in conference when it mattered, and struck gold. You know what I mean? They got a couple losses, okay, cool, but they lost to teams that are already going to be in the tournament. You know what I mean? Duke's going to make it. UConn's probably going to be in. North Carolina, good chance. So if you can go out there and handle business with, your conference, now that looks great on your resume. And I think that's what a lot of these teams need to look at. Even the bottom teams in the conference. Like I said, we can look at UCF, right? UCF is looking at it like, okay, damn, we got off to a hot start. They're playing against, they beat Hofstra, who beat Pitt, beat Oakland, beat Florida A&M, beat Texas A&M. But now they're finna get in the meat. They beat Kansas, and now they're finna get in the meat of the Big 12 conference play. And if they can stack those dubs, now, yes, okay, they beat Mercer and Quinnipiac and Townsend and all these teams. Not only that, they won the streak and they beat Kansas, they beat Arizona, they beat Iowa State. That plays a huge part. So for me, I think conference play plays a huge, huge thing when it comes to who we put together to make it into the tournament. And believe it or not, March is going to be here very soon. So even though we're just now getting into that college basketball play, first game was early November. Now, the last game is in March.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be sooner than we know it.
Yeah, and just kind of put a cherry on top, like Johnny Dawkins, I think, probably needs this season to kind of, really show. I mean, he's been there for years, but it's like I just alluded to, he was still down there. I was like, damn, he's still down there. All the changes in NIL and stuff like that. I figure, someone probably got him out there, but he kind of stayed the course and whatnot. And now, you won one of the premium conferences in the Big 12. And I'll bring up what Marcus said here in the chat, that NIL money changed the game.
Big time.
And you're probably more familiar with UCF than me, but you live in Orlando, no state tax. What else could I think of? Pretty decent school. I think so. I don't know. You could elaborate better than me, but playing Big 12, so you really got a prime destination to play Big 12 basketball in the state of Florida, and you can get the guys down there. You got a good selling point.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, can Dawkins, take advantage of that? We'll see. Brian Hodgson down in, over in your place, in your town, Tampa, UCF, trying to get that thing going. Can he get that thing going? Kind of do that selling point there? Can he turn UCF into a thing? Time will tell. But for Johnny Dawkins, hey, great win, because he needs that, and I think that would go a long way for them in their year. But moving forward, D-Locke, another game we'll kind of talk about. Arkansas beats number 20 Tennessee 86-75 to open the SEC play. Behind a strong case for SEC Player of the Year for Draymond Mark and A-Cuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. Does Cal need to have a strong year in Arkansas to kind of keep folks away? Yeah, he made the tournament last year, but it was like kind of about the thinness of margins. What say you? Does Cal need to have like a top 4 year in the SEC to kind of keep the folks away?
I think he's fine.
You think so?
I think one of the reasons, again, okay, you got lost to Michigan State, lost to Duke, lost to Houston. And I think what hurts about 2 of those losses were there in Arkansas. I think that played a part. But my thing is, again, recruiting is different nowadays. Much different. So, we know how Calipari, moved in Kentucky. I honestly don't see that happening anymore. He signed a kid and they would leave literally the next year, after being in the Final Four, winning a championship. I don't think we're going to see that type of run that he had in Kentucky of players. I think he's going to be fine just because of how Arkansas basketball was prior to him being there. They were fine, but obviously his expectations is a lot higher. I think he's going to get them there right now. You're looking at 11-3. Get into that SEC play. As I've always said, me being a former SEC athlete, I think SEC is one of the toughest conferences in all the sports, literally every sport. So even though we may not see some teams that even though we may see teams that aren't ranked, I think they are still, pretty solid teams. I mean, looking at playing Ole Miss, Auburn, both unranked in South Carolina. Then they come back, Georgia and Vandy, then LSU. So I think he's safe for now. I say that, one, I just don't think he'll be on the hot seat. And also, that's Calipari. I mean, he's going to get – kids are going to come to Arkansas just because it's him. You know what I mean? He has that selling point of he's going to get somebody. That's just expectation. And I can see it happening. So, for me, I mean, for one, that's like a team getting Nick Saban as their coach. Their first expectation is this guy's going to get us a national championship, within the next 2 or 3 years because of his history. So they will give him that time if he needed it. But I think he'll be fine. Looking at, again, like I said earlier, I mean, some of these wins, Central Arkansas, Southern, Sanford, Winthrop, Fresno State. Oh, wow. Well, that news just broke. So, again, beating James Madison and then coming back and beating Tennessee. I think he'll be fine just because of his history of him winning. I don't see them going downhill anytime soon, in my opinion. So, to me, I think he's definitely safe. And again, because recruiting is different, you don't need to have a top 5 recruiting class anymore. You kind of can survive, without that. Especially if you have some type of history of winning, you can find a way to keep a job because, okay, let's say you don't have a top 5 recruiting class, but in November or in June, the transfer portal is going to open. And those same kids that you probably were recruiting can come back to you. So I think that because of his history and who he is, Calipari should be fine. And if he was on that hot seat, oh yeah, somebody will hop on him quick. They'll definitely pick him up without a question.
Yeah, I just saw that news too.
Yeah.
I said, damn. I thought, damn, he won the game today. I thought he kept his job. Damn.
Yeah.
Anyways, and for what we alluded to, Raheem Morris got let go by the Falcons, which I'm gonna say not surprising, but damn, they probably just won. But anyways, back to this game. I think the big time win for them, especially at home. You know, A-Cup 29 points for him, 4 assists in the win, and then Thomas off the bench, 18 points for him, 3 rebounds, 3 steals for him. So I think, you know, the 11-3, and I think, you know, to me, I think he has to have a strong year, in my opinion, to kind of keep the neighbors away. And now granted, you're at Arkansas. So, you know, you're talking about expectations now, notch a little bit lower than you previously were at. You know, we saw the stories about when Cal got let go or he left Kentucky. You know, some folks were happy. Some folks are happy. Some folks were running up to what's that Kentucky dude's name up there? Matt Jones. Run up to him on the street saying, "Yeah, we got Cal up here like we got that Drake out of here." So, you know, when Drake and Kendrick that going on, it's like, good, we got Drake out of here. Drake getting beat down and got Cal out of here. So, Arkansas, you know, you've been in Fayetteville. How you been in Fayetteville?
I've been there, yes.
Okay. Real college townie,
yeah.
you know. And, you know, it takes a lot of convincing to get somebody to go there. Despite them being the SEC. But Cal can do it. He can sell it. He got the money to succeed there. You know, the Tyson money, the Walmart money. You know, Jerry Jones is a very huge contributor as well.
There.
So you got the resources. You know, I hope, you know, for his sake, that he can be very successful there. I think he will, but it's just like, damn, dude, you're at 2 places that you got a lot of resources at, and some reason, for all this money and talent, you come up short at certain points, especially in the tournament. Don't know how, you know, don't know how you allowed that to happen, but it's just like, when his coaching career is over, it's like one of those coaching careers we look back and say, damn, successful in many ways, but you left a lot of meat on the table. It's like somebody eating a chicken wing, and then they get done, and they live like skin and meat on the bone still. It's like, damn, you didn't finish this meat and chicken to the. Nah, it's like the juicy stuff. Well, you got to finish off the whole thing. That's Cal. So, I mean, big time win for them. You know, 86-75 for Tennessee. You know, Amari Evans, 16 points for him off the bench. Jacoby Gillespie, 14 points for him, 4 assists. Nate Ament, 13 points for him, which I think he's got to show up more in the conference play, but big time win for them. Let's see what they got next. Arkansas. They go at Ole Miss on Wednesday, which is going to be a tough defensive battle there. Then at Auburn this upcoming Saturday against Auburn team that's kind of been shaky here for the past couple weeks. So for Cal, if you can beat this defensive-minded Ole Miss team, take advantage of Auburn that's been kind of, you know, playing down right now. I think you'd be looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you alluded to, The thing about being at Fayetteville, Arkansas, is literally just Arkansas. There is nothing else. Nothing. So that is literally a college town. There's no other school. There's college. There is Fayetteville, Arkansas. So expectations is expectations. He is who he is. But again, if they can take advantage of being on this, going on this SEC conference roll, then I think that'll speak volumes. But again, and that is me being biased. This is the SEC.
Yep.
You know, this is that conference where if you don't come with it, you know, you have some kind of issue, whether it's off the court or you know, coaching issues or whatever the case. It's probably not the conference that you want to kind of miss a game or two, because you start losing that conference or still losing a few games, you're in some trouble. But I think Arkansas should be, like I said, come with it, starting off with that big win against Tennessee.
And then lastly, before we take our first break, I think another one here, Cal's former school, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
89-74, Alabama wins. The Tide handled business in Tuscaloosa, extending their win streak over Kentucky to 4 straight, the longest in series history. D-Locke, I think we talked about it when Cal got let go, that the message boards, the Kentucky fan message board saying Nate Oates was the target when Cal got let go. I think they made that clear. I think there was no bones about it. I think they did talk to him, but his buyout was too big, and I think he likes staying in Alabama for right now. They win big here.
Yes. Oh yeah.
They spent $22 million in the offseason for Mark Pope and company for Kentucky in that roster.
Oof.
D-Locke, I know we're one game in, and Kentucky fans aren't the most patient folks. But if things kind of go sideways this year with Pope, what happens to him?
This is that also that I guess the negative side of being in a tough conference. I kind of said this a little bit early in the season about Billy Napier before that tough schedule that he had against the SEC. If you can't get to about week 5, week 6, and you're about 5-1, 6-0, he's probably gonna be gone. Simple. What happened? Boom. This is the nature of the beast. This is being in that conference. And I think the same thing with Oates. Okay, boom. You got your losses in Alabama. You got Missouri. You got Mississippi State. Yes. You got LSU. You got Tennessee, who we just were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You got Texas. You got Ole Miss. Come back with Vandy in Arkansas. With this roster that he has, the expectation is there. As I said before, the biggest thing that this transfer portal has done is developing is not happening as often anymore. What I mean by developing is you're getting a kid that, in basketball terms, you need to teach him how to shoot. He's a great dunker, right? But you need him to be a better shooter. In this NCAA, that's very rare now. Why? Because they can get in the tournament. I mean, they can get into the transfer portal. And like you said, they can spend all this money on these players. So because of that, you're getting ready, set players, meaning they're ready to play now. So what does that rely the most on? It relies on the coach. Now the time that you had to develop, that shortens. So now you have to be ready now. You spend all this money, you have to be ready now. You know what? This is very compared to, we talked about this a lot when we talk about the NBA, right? They go get these players, they sign him. We talk about the trio of Kevin Durant's trio. We talk about the 76ers getting their group of players. Why they have this group, why are they not winning? You don't have 2 or 3 years or 4 or 5 years to do. They have to win now. When you go put this big three, this core together, you're kind of doing them the same thing in college basketball by spending a lot of this money. And that's different big threes, yes. But you're spending this money on athletes that you feel could make a big difference on your team. So, to me, I think that his time is limited because of the roster that he has. Now the job is solely more on what he does and what the coaches do because you have the roster. Now, not every sport is like that, but the top 2 sports that are like that is football and basketball. That's where they invest a lot of this money. So when we talk about NIL deals and transfer portals, the sports that impact the most is football and basketball. They spend millions and millions of dollars on these players. These players are riding around in $500,000 cars and got all kind of money in these different deals. Now they have these players.
Yeah.
So now the coach has to do his part. And again, the nature of the beast is not only can Kentucky do that, but so can Arkansas, so can Tennessee, so can LSU, so can Texas, so can Notre Dame. So now that it's a even level playing field, in a sense, this is not purely on coaching and the time that you have. So to be honest, the pressure is not on the athletes, it's on the player, it's on the coach. And that time is limited. So if he can't get through this conference on some type of role, they're going to be calling for his name because they're going to say, "Well, hey, we gave you the players, we gave you the pieces. Why is it not done?"
Yeah,
that's the answer to this. Why is it not done? So, yeah, I think that again, this is how it happens, and that again, I coach at the AC. I coach in the ACC, so I'm not gonna say that we're on the same level of playing field as SEC, but looking at what that conference withholds, what they bring to the table, what the expectation is, yeah, your job is on the line. This is a business. We understand more so as a business, but now this goes on to you recruiting the right players. This could be the number 1 point guard in the transfer portal, but does he fit your system? Could he get the job done the way you want to? Because you can give him the money, but if he doesn't fit your system, you're in the same situation, right? So again, a little bit off topic with that, but again, if he can't get through this conference play, might be turning that job in for somebody else.
No, it's not really our subject because the money and stuff, it factors into a lot of these schools and stuff like that. Like that, $22 million in the roster. One player you got from Alabama. You spend a lot of money on that roster. And before talk about this game here, let me pull it up real quick. The non-conference slate. Before we got here, even going back to December, lost North Carolina by 3 points. Lost big time to Gonzaga. They got smacked down by Gonzaga. They beat Indiana. Okay, solid win. They beat St. John's. Not going to be a good win and not going to be easy going against Pitino coach team. So in the beginning of December, not so good. You finished strong all the way through. You go back to November. Lost to in-state rival Louisville. Lost to Michigan State. Now you beat the teams you're supposed to beat. But, when the rubber meets the grain against these other schools, not so great.
Mm-hmm.
And then against Alabama, I said in a tweet on our show's page right here, I said that when they were sitting playing FSU down in Birmingham, this ain't gonna be no defensive dynamo, but damn it, you gotta score at least 90, 100 points to beat them. And that's the truth. And you're gonna play Alabama, you gotta score at least 90 to 100 points to beat them. Because if you have an off shooting night, or if they on whatever, it's curtains for you.
Yep.
In a sense. Not totally, but it's gonna be curtains for the most part.
Yep.
And then one stat, this is the longest win streak in this series. Even when Cal was there, there's the wins between Alabama and Kentucky few or far between. Now, since Nate Oates being here and kind of raising this program up, it seems like the no pun intended, the tide has turned on that department. And we'll see how things go for the rest of the year. But, Alabama win this game. Fallon back into action, 17 points for him. Holloway, 26. Allen, 11 points. Houston Mallett off the bench, 14 points for him. Noah Wilson. Let me tell you, D-Lock, Noah Wilson, the transfer from Bucknell, Alabama fans been on his case because he ain't really played well. He's come to this game and probably played his best game as a Crimson Tide member.
Mm-hmm.
And I said on the short for IE Sports Radio, when I sent it to Larry, he posted it. I said, Kentucky fans, one advantage you had was depth and especially down low. You had an advantage, especially down low, to beat Alabama, and you didn't take advantage of it. Even Aiden Sherrell, the big man for Alabama, starting center, went out with a knee injury. And Noah Wilson hadn't been played up to snuff. And they out-hustled you. They outplayed you down low. And I said, that's like one advantage you had over this Alabama team, and you couldn't take advantage of that. So, if you can't take advantage of, each team's weakness and come conference play, it's going to be a long-ass conference play for Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I mean by
for it.
Yeah, you put yourself in again, this is a different NCAA, as they said over time. And I've heard my athletic director say this before, and it's true. The NCAA is literally changing every year. And when you put yourself in a situation where, like you said, they spent millions of dollars on these players, you have to get the right pieces for your roster and for your team. That's the name of the game. You got to get these people, these players in, and they got to perform.
Yep.
That's just what it is, because it's either you or them. And at this point, the people that have the most power is the players. So you got to put the guys in there that is going to impact you the best. And looking at them right now, they're 9-5. 9-5. Again, we talked about Calipari. This is not something that Calipari, that Kentucky is not used to this with Calipari there.
No, not really.
They're not used to having 5 losses top before 20 games. That's not the norm. No matter if their team was ranked top 25 or not. So again, Louisville, Michigan State, North Carolina, Gonzaga. These are games that Cal will figure out some way to win. Some of them, most of them. So now you're getting in that conference play, and you start off with a loss already. Not a close one either. So it's going to get kind of this is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because as you mentioned, over time, it doesn't matter what the results are. They're going to talk about the money that was invested into this roster. That is literally something that I am hearing just in staff meetings about what teams are spending on their rosters. How do these teams be good consistently? Where do these teams, how are they recruiting? How are they being consistent? Yes, you're still recruiting high schoolers. Yes, you're still doing your due diligence on these high schools, but you're still investing money somewhere. You want to invest, you want to get something back in return. And if you're not, your boss is going to look at you like, okay, I've given you this. Why haven't I gotten any type of results that I'm happy with? And dealing with, obviously, college, you have the fans that are going to talk. Like you said, they're going to start calling for your name. We invest, like you said, we're not the only ones that know what these teams have invested in their rosters. These kids, these athletes, these students know this kind of stuff. Big fans, oh, they know. You got a lot of people on campus that know such and such got paid this, that, and the third. They know a lot of this stuff. This is talked about through campus. So these big sports fans, these radio stations, they talk about it. So again, and it could us be saying this too soon, but you gotta get the ball rolling, man, because get a blowout like that, like I said, looking at the rest of the schedule, it could get ugly real soon.
So we'll put a bow on that. We're gonna take our first break. After the break, I want you're more in the realm of NCAA. You had James Najee play his first game for Baylor this past Saturday and lost to TCU. I want your thoughts on him being drafted by the pros, and then that didn't work out, and then he's back in college and immediately as well. I want to get your thoughts on that and that thought process there. But this is Fast Break here for Ice West Radio. You're the for sports. We'll catch you on the other side.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. As the ticker you see below, do follow Ice Sports Radio, all your social media feeds, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We're out here. The message is out here. I know a lot of BS is going on around the world right now. Basically, the U.S. is trying to take over South America. We ain't been keeping up with that. They're trying to take Greenland next. Possibly Cuba, we'll see. So, with all that going on, here in the world of sports, we're trying to keep you occupied from that best we can. So, do follow us on all those social media feeds right there. And also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every time we go live every Sunday, around a little after 7, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. And once we go live, you get that notice that we live, and comment and like the show once you hop in. D-Locke, I've been waiting to ask you this and your thoughts on this. James Najee, for those that don't know, was the big man that got drafted to the NBA, I believe, to the Hornets in the second round a couple years ago. Then he double make sure that I got that right. He's 21 years old. He was drafted in 2023 by the Pistons, but his rights were traded to the Charlotte Hornets and later the New York Knicks. So you're talking about a second-round pick, 31st overall. Those type of guys, get picked right around there. You kind of be like a contributor some way, somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. I mean, he played some games in the NBA, but didn't see the court much. But he went overseas, played over there. Now we fast track to now here in the new year, our first show in the new year. This guy's playing for Baylor Bears basketball. So not only that, D-Locke, he got fast tracked to play immediately.
Mm.
Your thoughts, and you're more in the NCAA space, your thoughts on him being basically drafted, playing pro ball overseas and all that, playing NBA preseason games at that. But now he's eligible with 4 years, I believe, playing for Baylor. Your thoughts on everything, the NCAA ruling, all that stuff, your thoughts on this situation and how muddy the waters can be in the future.
I mean, I think we knew over time they would talk about COVID babies, right? It was a COVID because of the year COVID. They got all the kids a year back, and that played a huge part. But now, again, the NCAA has definitely changed and given these kids these extra years. Not for me. I think, in my opinion, when I hear a lot of stuff, NIL deals, these extra years they're giving them, having these kids openly transfer. In my opinion, I'm thinking that this have a lot to do with them wanting kids to graduate college. They're thinking that this is going to be the benefit, right?
Yeah.
They can stay in school longer. You got some kids that they don't graduate in 4 years. It may take them 5. It may take them 6. You know what I mean? Some kids leave, go pro in different sports, and then they don't come back, right? They may go pro, do whatever they got to do, play sports, play whatever sport it is, and they never come back to that school. So to me now, I'm thinking it's giving these kids that opportunity to come back and finish college. A lot of times when that happens, these extra years, these kids have been in school for 6, 7 years. So to bring somebody back and give them that eligibility, in my opinion, is like they're thinking of what they're getting in return. We give you more years. Now you're back in school. And who knows the situation, right? That's something that I'm picturing. A lot of kids come back to school, they're maybe graduate, they might get a second degree. It was a tight end, I can't think of his name, for Miami. I forgot what his name was. He literally was in school for he transferred to 3 different schools, got hurt 4 times.
Oh.
I can't think of his name. I think this might have been last year might have been his last year. I'm gonna have to look him up, but last year might have been his last year. So I think that with that being said, in my opinion, the NCAA is giving these kids that opportunity, extra eligibility, for the benefit of what it does off the court and off the field. In my eyes, because you're giving them that, giving James Knight that extra year. You opened the can of worms when you started giving chances for athletes to get paid. That opened up a can of worms all by itself. Because once you did that, now it's like, okay, cool. These kids can take a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars there. And this is stuff that we've seen years ago. We heard about it being illegally done from University of Miami. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen the Fab Five when that situation happened with Chris Webber and all that. Like, it was different things that was USC with Reggie Bush in that situation. Johnny Manziel, Todd Gurley. This stuff goes on with different situations. But now they want to open a can of worms to that because they want to make sure it's fair to athletes as much as it is to coaches. So to me, that started this. You told a kid, well, hey, you know what? Now you can get paid. His name is Cam McCormick. That's his name. He had nine seasons of eligibility. 9. This dude basically was like a tight ends coach while he was there playing, in a sense. So I think he graduated maybe graduated when he was like 26, 27, something like that. So to me, it's the benefit of what they're getting from the athlete. And giving James that opportunity, it's what is he getting from that? Now, college NBA draft is totally different than the NFL draft. You got 2 rounds in the NBA draft. 2. Yeah. And those 2 rounds, what is it, 60 players that get drafted?
Yep. That's about.
Yeah. So out of your 60 players that get drafted, I probably would say maybe 15, maybe max 20 are going to be are stars in the NBA soon. NFL is different. 7 rounds, you know what I'm saying, over 200 players drafted. They find gold mines in the 6th and 7th round sometimes. Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant, I think Mr. Irrelevant, I think it's called. He was the last person drafted, and now look at him right now for the 49ers, right? That's not happening in the NBA as much. It's not going to happen, especially with smaller rosters and such and different leagues. So for me, I mean, giving this kid another chance, I'm not shocked by it.
Mm-hmm.
You've opened a can of worms by being able to pay kids. Now, what it does is this will be something that we'll be talking about in a couple years about another kid that had a chance to go to the league, possibly got drafted, thought it was good, and said, okay, well, you know what? Scratch it. I want to go back. This is something that is not going to stop. So I wish there could be some type of stop to this, but now that money has been involved, you're trying to find a level of playing field on both ends for the coaches and making it fair for coaches and athletes. These are the kind of things that's going to happen. We talked about a lot about Bronny going to the league. Well, hell, this would make more sense if this is Bronny James. Hey, I got drafted, thought it was going to work. I'm gonna take my ass back to the NBA, college basketball. So, to me, in my opinion, I just think that this is we're going to see a lot more of this for kids. And I say it because this is the NBA. This is not, like I said, you got picked in the 2nd round. And a lot of times, there is some good 2nd round players that come out there and play, pretty good and they last a while. But a lot of the gold mines in the NBA draft is the 1st round, probably the first 15, 16 picks. And we see trades back and forth. But usually when we get to that 2nd round, we start seeing players that probably are seniors that should have been drafted, that should have left a while back, because we know that with basketball, you can leave after your 1st year. So usually if you don't leave after your 1st year, we're like, well, damn, okay, what's going on? So I think that this is something that we're going to continue to see over and over and over. Kids possibly getting drafted and going, playing somewhere else and saying, hey, well, this is not going to work. I'm going to go back. Now, my question is, who's going to be the oldest college basketball player we're going to see?
Oh.
Because this is something that we're going to, we're looking at 21, 22. Hell, I would say in college, to be an old college student, you're what, 25, 24? You're considered an old college student. I think we're going to possibly start seeing 26 and 27-year-old basketball players, 26, 27-year-old athletes. And that's because this is something that has been open. Because now you get, well, hell, if he can do it, why can I? So it's I mean, you kind of knew, again, when they first ruled about NIL, once that got passed through, you knew that, oh hell, you about to open a lot of you about to open a lot of stuff, because now you're trying to make everybody happy. Athletes are trying to be happy. And then the coaches want to be happy. Coaches want to make sure that they have some type of control. Because now they don't. A lot of them feel like, well, damn, there's a lot of players on this team that's making more than me. So how can I get this athlete to listen to me when they're probably making twice as much as I am? Well, they're driving a Lambo and I'm driving a Honda or Nissan. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be very interesting how this plays out, man, because I don't think that Najee's gonna be the only basketball player or athlete that's going to do this. Recently, I think a couple of days ago, the transfer portal opened up.
Yeah.
And literally, I believe I've seen almost 3,500 athletes got in the transfer portal. So it gets very, very interesting. Because now, again, okay, he goes back to school. And you know what? Baylor's cool, but I want to go somewhere else. And again, all you got to do is send an email to your compliance. Hey, I want to go. So it's very interesting. And me being a former athlete myself, I think it's fair that you give a lot of these athletes the power, right? Because I went to Tennessee for 2 years and transferred to Florida State and had to sit when I was in school. This is in 2012. I turned 2011, 2012. I transferred and had to sit at that time. That was out of conference. So if you transferred in conference, you had to sit automatically. And then your school decided if they wanted to let you go. So if they didn't, then you had to sit 2 years. So if I was at Tennessee and I wanted to transfer to LSU, Florida, Georgia, automatically I had to sit 1 year if my coach let me go. But if he said no, then I had to sit 2 years. That's over with now. So now you got kids that's saying, well, hey, I said go Gators this whole time. I said roll Tide this whole time. Bump that. I'm about to go to LSU. So that's the nature of where we are. And the loyalty thing is a big thing. But now, you got kids that got 6-7 years of eligibility. And I get it. You're going to run into kids that are like, damn, you both graduated 2 years ago, X, Y, and Z. But in my mind, it seems like the goal is to make sure that the athletes have some type of control. But kids that are 19, 18, 20, 21, I mean, their decisions are not as clear as they are, when they're 28, 29, 30. You know what I mean? We all evolve. So that's my only worry. That's even giving these kids all this money. You're giving kids $2 million at the age of 18, 19. I mean, what they gonna unless they got the right person in they corner giving them the advice on that $1 million is going to that $800,000 car that they want. People talk about on music videos. So it's like I said, to me, I'm not shocked, but I think also this is only just the beginning. That's all it is. Some kids that if it don't go as planned, they're gonna go back. And I disagree with that because I think, as we all know, life is hard. You got different things that you have to deal with. But if I can say, well, you know what, things ain't going my way, I'm just gonna turn around and try something different. I mean, what is that teaching a lot of us? You know what I mean? So again, but that's where we are, and rightfully so, these kids, these athletes, they balance being a student athlete a lot, the student and the athlete. You know what I mean? They go to class, they got practice, they got weight room, they got study hall, and they got to do it again the next day. They do that every day. It's a lot of work. I get it. And they want to be appreciated for it. I understand that. But again, giving too much power is my only problem with that. To somebody that doesn't know what to do with it. I can give a 10-year-old $10 million and say, what are you going to do with it? It's going to spend it on candy or buy some toys. So that's just my kind of thought process behind it. You give them this opportunity to go back and forth and change their mind. Like I don't think that's helping them moving forward when it comes to future jobs and future plans. Because you ain't gonna be you're not gonna be an athlete. Anybody that's watching and hear this, you're not gonna be an athlete your whole life. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't. I think TikTok has this trend right now where it says I used to be a hell of an athlete, and you see people taking out the trash and they're taking handoffs like they used to, or picking something up and shooting into a trash can like they used to in college or whatever. That ends at some point. It stops. You got to move on. It hurts. It definitely hurts. But I think that definitely can hurt long term, with these type of decisions that NCAA has made.
Real quick for me, I'm going to say this. I know some of these coaches is asking for the government to help with NIL, the transfer portal, all that crap. Those ladies and those folks up in DC can't get their own crap together. Hell, where they're elected from, they can't get their own stuff together. So it bothered me when some of these coaches asking for the government for help. Like, come on now. You asking these folks for help? What are we doing here? You want folks like Ted Cruz to be involved in stuff like this? Let's be real. I live in Alabama. Tommy Tuberville is the U.S. Senator. Do you want that pie-faced weasel to help regulate anything? Come on now. So some of the, Mark Few said that, come on, man. Let's be better. Now, having said that, those coaches, I think you gotta. I think a lot of those guys been in the game long enough that they can figure out something among themselves, along with the NCAA, to kind of curve some of this stuff. I can't say I hate on James Najee going back to college, but at the same time, they get these guys from Nigeria and stuff like that. They tell them, hey, if you're in the draft, they tell these guys and these agents tell them, you're in the draft, you get picked, all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, get your money, all that stuff, and go from there. So it's like, you got these agents stuff advising these guys to go this route and that, like that, and all that stuff. Not looking for the kid's best interest. You know, we talk about over the years how some of these guys and not ready to come out as early as they did. And look what and some of these guys flame out very quickly in the NBA. Anthony Bennett flamed out quickly in the NBA. Who else can think of? Guys like, you know, Luke Jackson, all those years ago, flamed out quickly. As others, you know, you go down the list. The high school guys that came out in the early 2000s, some of those guys flamed out very quickly. I wish some of those guys probably wish they had some can go back in that day and go to college after they flamed out in the NBA. So, you know, he played okay for Baylor and then lost against TCU, but it's like, you know, to give him 4 years, that's a lot. And for me, it's just like, you know, do you have that want to see in the NBA? Because, yeah, you play over in Barcelona, all that stuff, and you couldn't break the Hornets roster. That's another thing too.
Mm.
And I know around that time they had Nick Richards and Mark Williams in the fold as well. But look how their careers have gone. You couldn't tell me you couldn't stick around, maybe beat out those guys for a spot, or at least be the third center. So I was just like, I can't say it is what it is, but like you said, it's going up the gates, and I think the international players are kind of like the test run. Now you kind of see some of the American guys that flamed out playing the G League, all that stuff, and it seems like the NCAA don't care no more. Like, you know, by amateurism, like all hell just let loose and whatever. So I kind of hate it for the high school kids, you know, that's trying to get looks from schools and stuff like that. And on top of, you know, doing the transfer, trying to beat out guys in the transfer portal in JUCO. Now you got to worry about guys drafted 2 years ago going back to school and playing for a top program. I did with that football a couple years ago. I told you this off the air. Trying to get kids recruited for football, you know, stuff like that. And it's tough for high school kids. Whereas the D1 level or D2, it's tough to get high school kids recruited and looked at and all that stuff. And him coming in getting immediate eligibility, I was like, damn, what we doing here? You can't have him, you know, come play next year. So I think, like you said, the can of worms, you know, the immediate eligibility is like the main concern for me. It's like, damn, y'all gave him quick access to come in and play. That's my thing. The quick assets. You can't say, yeah, and then, you know, have him start, you know, the 2026, 2027 season. No, you let him start in conference play. And let me say this. Let me ask you this. For example, if he has a strong play throughout conference play and potentially a tournament, Does he go in the draft again, or does he just his right still with Charlotte?
I think he re-enters. I mean, I think, and this is what I mean by like you didn't do what you're supposed to do the first time. So you say, okay, well, I didn't like where I got drafted, whatever the case may be. So now I'm gonna go back to school, get my stock back up, and then re-enter. That's what this really is about. And from the athlete's point of view. In this, in my opinion, I don't think he may not be going back to school to go back to get another degree. He could be going back to get his stock raised. We all remember when Eli Manning got drafted to the Chargers. He took a picture and he had this look on his face like, I don't want to be here. This is not where I want to be. In my opinion, that's a spoiled child. You got drafted somewhere. A team showed that they had interest in you. You have to take that responsibility and say, well, hey, this team drafted me, and I'm going to make the best of it. You should be grateful for that, to be honest. Let's be honest. But instead, you pouted and said, well, I don't want to go here. I want to go somewhere else. And basically, if you don't move me, I'm going to go back into the draft or whatever the case may be. That has happened a few times. John Elway situation. Bo Jackson. Many people don't remember. Bo Jackson got drafted by the Bucks. Would have changed my team, my franchise forever if we would have got Bo Jackson. Now, I've heard the back history on that. Different story for a different day. But he said, if they draft him, I'm not playing football. So I say that to say some of these decisions are on how these athletes see themselves with this team or the decision that was made. So if he did go and play extremely well this year, he was projected to be top 5. There's no doubt in my mind that he would go. Because now he's looking back like, well, this is what I'm projected. This is what this looks like. Let's try this again. But the problem is, does he, well, damn, I don't like this. Let's try it another time. And that's the gate that I'm saying that NCAA has opened. Because now you have somebody or other athletes that say, well, damn, if he could do that. We have one of the Boozer twins are going to the draft. If they don't like where they're drafted, hey, I want my son to play here. I want my son to play there. This could be something that could say, well, damn, you know what? I don't want to go play for Orlando Magic. I want to go play for the San Antonio Spurs. Could this be, well, damn, you know what? They didn't draft me. You know what? I think I'm going to go back to school. So now it gets to, well, damn. Najee did it. Why can't I? And that's going to be a question that is going to be asked for multiple athletes. Multiple. So again, the question that you just asked is something that we're going to see from athletes all over the NCAA now. In basketball. They know that it's only 2 rounds. It's not 7. It's not 5. It's 2 rounds. And when we get later on in the draft, we start to see these teams kind of trade back or trade up and make these moves for these players. Your top 5, top 10, top 15, more than likely going to be very much pretty solid at that team. But from then on, we kind of start seeing the draft kind of shake up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what I mean by you open a can of worms. Because now all these questions, you know how we see people get players get interviewed and they answer one question, and one question can lead to 1,000 other questions. This is where we are now. You've given him a chance to come back, gave him these years, and now you're looking at a situation where, damn, you know what? If I play, and I'm pretty sure it's probably going on in James's mind, then if I play good enough, to take a team to the championship, get that stock rised up, we're gonna go back in there, and hopefully we see a team that's contending for a title can make a push to get me. And I'm not saying that I don't understand why some players don't want to play for specific teams. Like, hell, I wouldn't want to be a quarterback for the Browns. For what? I wouldn't want to. The history of that team is literally 20 quarterbacks in the past 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I understand it. But this is what I mean by this is the card that has been dealt to you. This is what you have to deal with and understand. And you're being gifted to have one of the best careers that many people would love to do. I would believe, a lot of people would like to be professional athletes and experience that. So, that's the hell. I played college football in 2K, and I got my 2K player, so I get the experience to be a professional basketball player. I would never be 6'2", 240, but again, it's the experience to have, and a lot of people can experience that. And James and multiple athletes can experience that. So I'm not saying shut up and be grateful. I'm saying that you have opportunity, take it and run with it and see what happens with it. But now, when you do have the chance of, dang, you know what? I don't really like where I got drafted at or the team. I think I'm just go back to school and try it again. That opens a lot of eyes. You know what I mean? And this guy plays out. But as you said, now we have questions that can possibly be answered down the road, down the season.
I'll leave it like this. I know in coaching, you're always trying to get edge and stuff like that. And we discussed, throughout the show, the money and all that stuff being passed around, stuff and very high pressure, stakes everywhere. So, it's very high stress, high expectations everywhere right now. But I think sometimes, it gotta be a little integrity there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, yeah, you got the NCAA to improve this and stuff like that, but what the hell you been like? If I'm asking Scott Drew, like, what the hell you were doing this summer when you try and put your roster together and you need another big man? Like, how you get to this point here that you saw what's going on in other schools and getting guys to come out from the G League and all that stuff to commit to schools. And I asked the question, same thing, old boy in Louisville. We got that guy from the G League. What were y'all doing during the summer that in your eval process with your assistant coaches and scouts that y'all got to look into the G League ranks and stuff like that to get guys? That's just my question. It's like, what y'all doing here?
Mm-hmm.
That someone told you gotta go find a big man to play for you right now. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? By the time you get knocked down in the NCAA tournament until school starts in August. Well, what y'all scouting and looking for? Who y'all offering and stuff like that? So I question that stuff too. It's like, to these coaches, stuff like that. What y'all do in the summer, stuff like that? All right, let me tell you a personal story. I'm coaching basketball again this year, D-Locke. And I thought, beginning of the year, my roster looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my fourth, and I had in my mind my fourth quarter closeout group. One kid I had was about 6'3", right? Could shoot and all that type of stuff on the ball. So okay, cool. I come to the third practice. Another kid told me, who goes to the same school with him, he told me that the kid told him to tell me that he's quitting and is playing for the JV squad at their high school. Now, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I encourage kids to go off of school ball any chance to get. For those that know, I coach rec league, in my local city here. Yeah, I encourage these kids to go off of school ball around here because some of these programs ain't shit. And they're not consistent enough to kind of turn kids away who got talent in basketball. That's my opinion. But anyways, and I said, okay. But I said to myself, and I said to my dad, we had this conversation not so long ago. I was like, okay, y'all had tryouts in May for JV, freshman, and varsity. You had summer ball in June. Workouts throughout the summer, then you start school, got practices, and now you're into the season, and you not still looking for JV players. I'm not saying tryouts don't happen or whatever don't happen before the season starts, but like y'all set your rosters in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
You a couple games in, game or two in JV year, and you're still looking for players. What are we doing here? Now I can't be that mad at the kid because hey, he's playing for school ball. But guys like me and stuff like that, I'm like, damn, I lost a good player. And now I kind of look at the season going for me. I'm kind of struggling. So I think it's like, for these coaches and stuff like that, get these guys like, what y'all been doing all summer? You know what I'm saying? That's just my question, the integrity part. Like, what y'all been doing all summer, and why is it that you needed this player immediately now?
Mm-hmm.
You got 15 roster spots on the college basketball roster. You're supposed to develop kids and whatnot. And I think this is one of the bad things. One of the things I don't, especially in basketball, I don't like about the transfer portal, the hopping around and the development and stuff like that.
Yes.
Because you're supposed to have development and stuff like that. And if you can change your roster around year after year, you're supposed to get the best of the best. I don't say best of the best, but you're supposed to fill your roster pretty well that you can go deep in your bench with high school recruits and transfer guys. So I do question, I'll wrap this up, but I do question, like, the development of things. What the hell y'all been doing all summer that you need to get a big man for conference play? That's a fair question. I haven't seen that question answered. I probably have to search for it, but what the hell y'all been doing all summer to the point that y'all get this big man to come in and play for y'all immediately?
I mean, it's like I said, I think the recruiting doesn't go bad, but there's times where you're dialed in on the kid and you're thinking you're going to get him, and he goes somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning as a coach myself that I have a lot of kids that I like. Boom, talking to this kid, they're going to come here. But the mistake that could be done or has been done is I would solely focus on that kid. So if I'm recruiting a guard or a center, I'm focusing on that one center. I'm not having one center, A, and the backup center in case A doesn't come here, and the C in case B doesn't come here. So when you know what I'm saying, you're locked in on this athlete and this, hey, we had a great visit, or we love it, such and such, you're having a great conversation, everything looks great. You know, a lot of coaches, I believe, are sold on that one player. They start to push back the others, which I think we've made that mistake before. But the good recruiters have options. They're hey, okay, I got this number one guy that I want, and he really likes it here, man. I think he's gonna come here. But you know what? I'm also talking to number 2. And by the way, let me make sure I keep in contact with number 3 in case number 1, for some reason, on signing day, he flips. And when you don't do that, you get in a situation where it's like, damn, like I gotta get somebody. You get in the moments where you gotta get in that desperate mode. And I'm pretty sure experience, like I said, a lot of schools don't, you would think would never do that. But sometimes when they come to, you know, recruiting you understand this business, you fall for that athlete and you think, hey, this person's definitely coming here. Is why I question, like they're gonna come in for this void, X, Y, and Z. Then it doesn't happen. And now you're left with nothing. And now you're looking for, damn, I need to fill this void somewhere. Somebody got to replace somebody. Like, we got to get something. So what options do we have? Damn, you know, James, oh yeah, let's try to hurry and get that going. You know, because a lot of times the schools are trying to make sure that they're on the same page, and the NCAA want to break no rules. You don't want to break any rules. So you want to make sure you clear that, you know, those protocols. But yeah, usually sometimes, you know, you can put all your eggs in one basket. That basket drops. Now you got to find different eggs somewhere else. And now you're kind of desperate trying to grab. You know what I mean? Now you're trying to, hey, this is opportunity. Is there any possibility you got some eligibility left? Dang, you left. Well, let's just see if we can. And then boom, now that's what I mean by can of worms.
So we'll put a ball on that. And then, you know, we'll see, you know, how he plays the rest of the year. You know, how he plays for the rest of the year, how, you know, if he plays well, what happened with his draft status and stuff like that. Because it only takes one NBA team to like you and guarantee your NBA spot. It only takes one. And they can curve back the rules and stuff like that. You know, we'll see how that shakes the NBA and stuff like that. But it's like, only not a can of worms in the NCAA, but potentially NBA as well. That both entities got figured out what's best for everybody. So a lot of questions be left there. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. Good to be back in the fold of things here on the network, all that stuff. Eli, how can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Black-813. Like I put on Twitter, you know, a bug should not have been, or X, it should not have been, you should not put yourself in that situation. It happened. So let them know they can find you on the show's page.
You can find the social page on X/Twitter at FastBreakerISR. That's FastBreakerIESR. You can follow my own personal account, Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288. After Cam Ward went out with his shoulder injury, you know, I ain't tweeting much about the game. Damn. That was it. I mean, that was it, baby. That was it. I was like, damn, that's it. I just had to be in the background and watch Tony Pollard struggle to get 66 yards to get his bonus. So it is what it is. You know, both our teams will be chilling at home.
Yes.
Looking to make off-season moves and all that stuff. But you follow us, What's Ready, on all your social media feeds: X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. The website's being worked on, so once that get up, we have access on there as well. A lot of shorts on the social media feeds, so do check out, especially on TikTok. That's been going real heavy right now. And do give us a follow there and comment, all that stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell. Subscribe. Hit the bell notification once we go live every Sunday. You'll catch us every Sunday at 7 p.m. And all the other shows in the network as well. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to y'all next week in the world of basketball. Peace.